Hello, all cinephile. Mike is here, and like all of you, probably still in my Thanksgiving Day food coma. But we are going to be moving along with day four of awards season reviews, season three, 97 reviews in 97 days, covering all of the films contending for award recognition in early 2025. For these reviews, all information is current within 7 days of the recording. I'll be giving you the critical response, the box office information, insight into its awards run so far, my predictions on where nominations or wins could fall based on where we are in the year, and as always, these reviews are spoiler free. Make sure you check out my website, cinephilemike.com, where you can find lots of great other reviews, Oscar Rewind, other print reviews from film festivals, and never important, the most important, the Where Can I Watch It 2024 spreadsheet, where you can see all the nominations and wins for films track the whole season and also see, how do I watch this? We are now halfway through our first theme week of season three. It is top box office flicks week. While we don't have any of the major nods yet, these first films I'm discussing, I do believe will be in contention for, at the minimum, that Golden Globe Awards in Cinematic and Box Office Achievement category. This award recognizes those films that have achieved a total box office gross of at least $150 million, with $100 million coming from the domestic box office and 50 million from the international box office. Of the films eligible, right now there is a count of about 18. So I'm covering seven. Now, the ones that I don't get to, chances are they could pop up somewhere else. Maybe Razzie Week. Or maybe some of the others. There are so many awards that I cover. I usually only cover 90 something out of the over 200 eligible films. So, you just got to keep following along to see what I do. But next up, the one I'm talking about today is another sequel, but this is one that I think is going to cross over. There's a less of a gap between these sequels than we had with Inside Out 2 or Deadpool and Wolverine or even Despicable Me. Today I'm talking about Warner Brothers Pictures' Dune Part 2. Written by the team of John Spates and the film's director Denis Villeneuve, based on the novel by Frank Herbert, the second film made much more of an impact than the first one did 3 years ago. As of this recording, the film almost doubled the first film's box office take, with part two making $282,144,358 domestically and $432,300,000 internationally, for a current worldwide total $714,444,358, up from part one's total worldwide take, which by the end had only made $407,673,628. However, that one was also released when there was the controversy with pandemic releases and straight to streamers. So who knows what that box office could have been. So it might not be fair to really compare the two. Currently, right now, Dune Part 2 is the fourth highest grossing film of 2024 and even returned higher critical ratings on Rotten Tomatoes. The film currently has a 92% critical rating based on 449 reviews and a 95% popcorn meter score coming from over 5,000 audience scores. The film has also received some awards love. Composer Hans Zimmer won the Best Original Score for a sci-fi fantasy film by the Hollywood Music and Media Awards, and they also won two Golden Trailer Awards, one for Best Fantasy Adventure Trailer and Best Original Score for a Trailer. It was also the Astra Midseason Movie Awards recipient of two awards. Austin Butler won, Best Supporting Actor, and Villeneuve won Best Director, and the film won Best Picture. So there were three wins for it there. So what's happening in part two? Well, we pick up right after the events of part one. Paul Atreides, played again by Timothée Chalamet, and his mother, Lady Jessica, played by Rebecca Ferguson, have taken their refuge amongst the Fremen after their home, House Atreides, was destroyed by the House Harkonnen under the orders of the Emperor, played by Christopher Walken. Staying amongst the Fremen and trying to harness all of the Bene Gesserit powers that Paul has been trained in by his mother, as well as other abilities he's starting to demonstrate, lead many people to believe that Paul is destined to be their leader, the powerful Muad'Dib. While all this is going on, Paul falls in love with fellow Fremen Shani, played by Zendaya, and starts his new life. He learns the ways of the Fremen and tries to live this newer little more simpler, less political life, not everything is as peaceful as he would like. What we see is on another planet, having failed to kill all of House Atreides, Baron Harkonnen, played again by Stellan Skarsgård, head of House Harkonnen, under secret orders of the Emperor, must finish what he started. And after his older nephew, Robin, played by Dave Bautista, failed to do what he needed to do, he now must send his much younger, much more psychotic nephew, Fade Ratha, played by Austin Butler, to finish the job. This will bring Paul back into the conflict, all the more complicated by his mother now becoming not only the new Reverend Mother of the Bene Gesserit, but also carrying the next in line from House Atreides as she learns Duke Leto, played in the first film by Oscar Isaac, impregnated her before he was killed in the attack on House Atreides. Also, beyond just the continued war between the houses under the Emperor's words, secret relationships and unknown connections will weave a very complicated web of deception and deceit, culminating in a final showdown for the fate of existence as we know it. And more will come to a head before the knives chip and shatter. Like the first film, Dune Part 2 is a visual masterpiece. It's a sweeping epic that provides more action than the first and many more plot elements to untangle and follow. However, given that this film is over 2.5 hours, you are able to actually follow each string and understand where they're going. And given the scope of the novel, this is a 5 hour adaptation, so it works. They really stretch out this multi page novel. And even in my summary, I hit a few of the plot elements. There are some that I left out, and where some didn't love the fact that part one was so slow paced. For those that felt that and maybe avoided part two, you should know this one is much more action packed, so you will be a little more happier for more action. Chalamet continues to show his leading man potential in carrying this story and making the more absurd fantasy elements seem very real. His performance is very grounded in the reality of the situation, and he has a more than willing partner in Zendaya, who between this and Challengers, boy, I hope I get to discuss Challengers some point this season. Anyway, I digress. She shows that she is destined for more than the supporting role player she's had in certain other franchises. And, given some tweaks to the plot of the book, we actually get a moment with her that will really excite viewers for the inevitable announced forthcoming third film. Also, creeping in the wings, Butler sheds his Elvis persona with a wonderful scenery chewing performance as Fade Ralpha. He embodies this psychotic so well that your skin may crawl and also, and I'm sure we'll be coming more into the next film, we have Florence Pugh introduced as Princess Irulan, the Emperor's daughter, who is going to have some very interesting subplots to address when we get to the third film. So she has a few nice moments here in part two. So where part one focused more on Paul and the adults and the older generation, part two hones in on the next generation, and rightfully so. Although the production costs were too high, Villeneuve was not able to shoot part one and part two back to back. However, the strength of this film really lies in that he was able to get the majority of his production team back. It really pays off in spades. Zimmer's both like action packed and haunting score weaves the story so well in an auditory delight and will bring you to the edge at the key moments when it needs to. The sweeping desert shots of the sandworms and the attacks and just the atmosphere we're in that are blasted across the screen. Greg Fraser, his cinematography is wonderful and amped by the visual effects team led by Paul Lambert, the special effects team led by Gerd Nevzer. I mean, everything just works. Crafting the colorful Fremen versus the starker black and whites of the Harkonnen. It's such a nice juxtaposition that visually it's good to look at. It provides enough distance between the two to help follow this complicated web of a story. And as the first one did, look, this one improves on the first film. And so, the first film was an Oscar darling. And so I think when we hear the nominations come out in January, we're going to hear Dune Part 2 in many of the same technical categories. Part 1 had 10 nominations and won 6. And the 6 that it won, I think, are shoe in nods again for it, which are production design, sound, visual effects, original score, cinematography, and editing. It could also repeat in other categories like costume design and makeup and hairstyling. Could it enter Best Picture and Adapted Screenplay again? I'm not quite sure. I wonder if it would even be eligible given it's a part two. Maybe, I mean, we'd have to see. I don't know though. The competition is tough, but it's strong to say when it comes to the technical awards, Dune Part 2 is the one we're going to be here a lot, if not in wins, in nominations. It's going to be the technical front runner this year. For me, Dune Part 2 is another solid 4-star film, a lot of fun to watch. Actually, I'm probably due for a rewatch at some point as we get more into award season. If you would like to catch Dune Part 2, it is currently streaming on Max. So, there we go. 4 down, 93 to go. As always, if you like what you heard here, please click that subscribe button. Do me that favor, click it right now. Like the video, drop me a comment. You can follow me, Cinephile Mike, on all social media platforms and on Letterboxd. Lots of great additional content on my website, cinephilemike.com. Have a wonderful holiday weekend, everyone. And until next time, this is Cinephile Mike saying take a break and watch something new.